What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. How are you doing? This is going to be something different. I'm going to premiere this on Patreon about a week in advance, and then it'll be up on YouTube later on. So a week or so after I put it on Patreon. So if you're watching some Patreon, a shout out to you lot. If you're watching on YouTube, a shout out to you lot as well. If you want to get access to these videos and support the channel a little bit earlier, then links for Patreon are in the description. But today, lads, 156 Silence, People Watching. A band that I've heard literally 2 songs from, and the first one was Better Written Villain, which is track number 4 on this album. And that was an instant playlist track for me. I really enjoyed it. And then I heard Once I Need featuring Craig Owens, which is track 7 on this album. And I wasn't as sold on that track as much as I was with Better Written Villain. It didn't make playlist. It was just like a solid track that I didn't really care for too much. But there's been a lot of hype in the scene in my own Discord community. I've seen some people talking about it on Patreon. I spoke about it briefly on the Metal Roundup podcast with Steve and Metal Burb, where we discussed it. And I think Burb was pretty sold on it. I'm not sure if Steve had heard it at this point, but I've seen enough positivity around it for me to at least check it out and just give it a shot now. Apologies in advance for the echo in the room. I can hear it myself. It's not too bad, but if you're listening on a decent, sound system or even just decent headphones, you'll probably hear a bit of an echo. Just a bit of a warning in advance. As you can see, I've cleared the room out behind me. There was a big fucking mattress and a bed standing vertically behind me. That has obviously been moved out now for aesthetic purposes, but it acted as quite a good sound absorption. So now we're in this empty, hollow room, which I'll have to fill up and, make a little bit more soundproof and just better for absorbing that annoying echo. So anyway, that's all of that out of the way. Without any further ado, we're going to check out the video on YouTube as well. So we have the whole album. It's about 46 minutes long, which for what I've heard from these guys sounds like a decent enough length of time for an album like this. Obviously, we'll see how we get on, but yeah, not too bad. 46 minutes, 45 minutes. It's not like stretching into that ridiculous territory of like an hour long. So let's get into it.
It's strange to have made something that hates you.
Ah, okay. I seen someone in my Discord, I think it was Palooza, that said that exact line, but I thought he was referring to the Poppy and Bad Omens collab. Where it's like, isn't it strange to create something that hates you? Okay.
When it's time to be face to face with English, you'll be tied to the vices of irony's retention, spending every investment, undressing your patience is lethal injections for questions, reflecting on nothing, accepting the
That fucking bass, man. Okay, right. A fucking intense start, to say the least. That weird ass flow that was synchronized with the instrumentals there. We're building again.
one, the child.
Alrighty, first track, character development, and then in brackets cold start. Okay, just relax for a second. That album artwork is so jarring, by the way. Like, why is bro looking at me like this? Anyways, target acquired is the next track. Yeah, so character development. I still don't really understand these. Not understand, isn't it? It's the wrong word, but I haven't really grasped what these guys, what their sound is just yet. You know what I mean? We've heard Better and Villain. I'm looking forward to hearing that again. The tone of their guitar, I remember when I heard the Wants I Need, instantly their tone and the bounce overall, their rhythmic patterns seem to be pretty consistent. Now this track, in saying that, the one that we just heard, character development, was a little bit off of the beaten track from what I've heard from the just two songs that we've heard already from them. Obviously there was kind of jarring moments. A cold start, like to me, cold start is like starting your car in the morning. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Character development. I can't really hear the lyrics. So lyrics aside, I'm not going to delve too deep into that. But just as a song overall, it does have like a lot of the hallmarks of what I would consider to be like modern metal. It just, when I hear effects, and I think there's like some kind of whammy pedal or pitch shifting, I don't know. It's so hard to know these days with modern metal, like what is actually digital and I guess what is somewhat analog with an actual note being played on a guitar that's being pushed through something that is digital, if that makes sense. So it's hard to put my finger on exactly what the sounds are, but bottom line is, it gives me that like I Let It In by Loathe vibe. It's that whole album with all of these crazy like dissonant squeals and modern industrial sounds that are also mixed in with, like, you know, the more traditional elements of metal music, which is your instruments. But it's hard to know. It's hard to differentiate between sometimes, because I guess production is just fucking insane these days. So it's hard to pinpoint, but quite a jarring, unsettling, uncomfortable intro to an album, which I guess when you have album artwork like this, that kind of matches the vibe. But I mean, it got pretty like balls deep in the sound pretty quickly, which again, I'm not always the biggest fan of. There was nothing in there that like really hooked me, that like really grabbed my attention enough to be like, oh, this sounds like a track I'll go back to. But I guess it was a big intro to an album, somewhat memorable because it was so intense. But song wise and just flow of an album wise, I generally prefer to be fondled with a little bit more before we get into things. You know what I mean? I like that bit of foreplay, which I always talk about, and this didn't really have that much foreplay. It was just like, let's fucking go. We're pulling you along this ride, which is okay. But I look at albums. Obviously, I'm rocking the new alt merch right now. I look like the biggest fucking alt fanboy with all these stickers, and I've just got fucking alt shit everywhere right now. But that album, even if it's a minute and a half long of just something a little bit unsettling to paint the picture of the album or the storyline that's upcoming over the next 40 minutes or so, something like that. And then even like Silent Planet, Iridescent, like I'm thinking of that because Steve just reacted to that the other day and I listened back to it. And just like these albums that are memorable to me are always albums that have these like memorable intros, because it just feels like it connects you with the story before you even get going. You know, I don't really know what this is about apart from it being a bit unsettling, because I can't really hear a lot of the lyrics because he's screaming them at me. So the storyline is lost on me instantly. Now, whether or not the storyline is that deep, I don't fucking know. Of course, first listen, it's always hard to take in the musical aspect and the lyrical concepts and the storyline instantly, so it can be a bit tough. But like, they're making it harder is the point I'm trying to make. Even like Current's, what's it called? The Way It Ends? Is it The Way It Ends? Why do I always remember or forget the name of that Current's album? I think it's The Way It Ends. Current's is not last album, the one before that, with Better Days on it. The way they intro that album as well, with the like screamed, like spoken word section at the start, just something simple like that. So that's a bit of a pet peeve for me straight away, is when albums just start that brutally. There is exceptions, of course. There's albums out there that I love that do start instantly, but I'm just saying, from this one so far, the song wasn't that captivating for me to like really care that much about it. And as in terms of like the album flow, it's not the best start to the album for me. So let's keep going. Target acquired. Way too much speaking already. We're already fucking balls deep and yapping. It almost feels like it's about to go into something like Suicide Boys-esque. Okay, right. Sleep Spikes. I'll come back to that. My initial thoughts on that is it's not a very dynamic track. I mean, up until the bridge where we got the kind of like soft-spoken, angsty, almost like spoken word section. The ambience seemed to stay the same throughout the entire track. There was a real like eerie ambience and atmosphere. But the like tone of the vocals and the guitars and the rhythm throughout the entire song up until that point was just fairly repetitive. Just didn't feel very dynamic up until the bridge, and then the breakdown, I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad metal music. It's just standard enough like metalcore stuff, isn't it? And we have a little break already. Sleep Spikes, and then the next one is Better Written Villain, which is a really sick song from what I remember. Now I'm looking forward to hearing it again. Not as an outlier now, because I just heard that at the time. First time hearing the band, I was like, oh, cool band. Fucking great rhythms, very good groove. But I can't really remember the rest of the song apart from the opening. Dun, 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 dun.
Faith, and to make us appreciate the good that we do.
Forgive me for saying so, Reverend. God is a sick fuck.
Okay. I know I may have just contradicted myself talking about trying to find out about a storyline and then spoke over the entire storyline. I'm sorry. But God is a sick fuck, I think is what he said at the end there. Yeah, okay. Instantly coming back to me. Just that, like, contrast between what we've already had rhythm-wise, but these clean vocals give it more of like an airy feel, you know? A little bit more memorable already. Even the fucking like lead working coming in and shit. Just accenting the end of the rhythm. Much better. It's a great chorus. I think the drumming slightly changed up there as well. Never even noticed that. It's just... yeah, this song is a ripper. It just is. Well worthy of the playlist. I don't know, just from anyone who's maybe not heard this yet, does this track just stand out to you so much more than the tracks you've heard so far? Like, genuinely trying to be as objective as possible and just unbiased. Like, I don't give a fuck if I like this album or not. If I like it, even better, you know? I have no reason to not like this for the sake of not liking it. Almost like a kind of Silent Planet bridge section here. Huge chords. Bit of a like dissonant synth or like lead work. Make it feel like you're levitating almost. I mean, to play devil's advocate to my, I guess, indifference to the start of the album, that song was fucking fantastic. I mean, I'd already heard that song, and I guess it didn't have the same like shock value that it did when I initially heard it, but if anything, that's gotten better. Coming after the character development track, Target Acquired, Sleep Spikes, I mean, again, not bad music by any stretch of the imagination. It just felt like it stayed within the realms of things that we've heard a million times over in metalcore. It's not bad, and I mean, subgenres and genres exist for a reason because they have like parameters in which most of the music sounds like pop music sounds roughly the same across the board. Rap music has parameters in which it stays in. So to sit here and say it sounds like the subgenre, like, oh, it just sounds like metalcore, therefore it's bad, is not what I'm trying to say. It's just from my own personal taste, and as someone who consumes a lot of this style of music, obviously I'm going to try and like find things that impress me, that I guess somewhat push the envelope and maybe veer outside of some of the comfort zones of metalcore. I love simple tracks. I mean, I listened to the new Breaking Benjamin track and I was blown away, but not blown away by it, but I fucking loved it. Just because it's formulaic, it sticks to a formula. Again, I know it's not really metalcore music, but it's in the same vein that it follows a lot of the same like patterns that we've heard a million times over with Breaking Benjamin. But however, the melodies and the emotion that they were able to pull out of the track was just absolutely fantastic. Therefore, it doesn't really matter if it follows the same kind of song structures. I think the problem for me with metalcore is when there's no like real enticing hook, or there's no enticing maybe even production, if the production isn't like really crisp or sound really different, or if there's no like real fun grooves in it that we haven't like heard before, then it just starts to feel stale to me. Like, it doesn't have to be the most dynamic, different track in the world, but I just felt like the start of the album didn't really have anything that like stood out to me. And it's not that big of a deal. I think it's just because it's the first few tracks on an album. It's like first impressions are very important for me when I'm listening to an album. So that is, you know, something that I have to take into consideration. But Better and Villain, on the flip side of all that, really dynamic track compared to the other tracks. Like, it feels like the song is like constantly adding layers to it. Just so fun. It has a big like atmospheric melodic chorus that is very easy to remember and sing along to. A bit of an earworm. Like, even having heard it a couple times, it's like a shoegazy-esque style chorus. It feels like a track that will be on like a shoegazy track, or a chorus that will be on a shoegazy track. The vocals, that is, it's very like airy and floaty and like almost feels like you're ascending when you're listening to it. The rhythms across the board, not too far off of what we've already heard, but like I mentioned, it's taking stuff that we've kind of already heard that are like, I guess, forming the glue of the album. You know, these rhythms and that tone of the guitar is very similar from the, you know, tracks prior, but it's not that for the entire track. There's more dynamics to it. It's building and building and building. The bridge has this big, again, like I almost mentioned, or like I did mention, the almost Silent Planet style. I don't know which track it is in particular with Silent Planet, but there's a track, is it the end of Antimatter, when everything just kind of explodes in this bridge, and it's very like, I think the lead work is really taking it away, and then there's atmosphere built around it. It's just fantastic. So that track just kept building, and again, great melodies, great rhythm across the board. That track feels very dynamic to me. Great fucking song in the metalcore bracket. So let's see. But I already kind of knew this. This is another single product placement. So Better and Villain is the most popular track off of this album. So hopefully there's some hidden gems that will hit me the same as Better and Villain did.
Bullshit!
Okay, those clean vocals are an acquired taste for sure. This guy can do a lot of fucking different styles vocally.
This.
You know what? Okay. Okay. Show me how. I think a part of it is to do with the video because I'm looking at the video and there's like no fry in his scream. He's like, but in the video, he's like, when I see it, it just feels like there should be a lot more fry in it when I'm looking at the visuals. Maybe it's just purely the visuals that's taking me out of the thing a little bit here, but the vocals in this song were different to the clean vocals that we got in Better Written Villain. I guess it was more of a kind of like whispered, and we're lost in like very kind of soft spoken style in Better Written Villain. So it was still like a clean vocal style, whereas this one was a little bit more angsty, a little bit more in that, you know, upper range. But I don't know if it was just me not liking the vocal delivery on that, or if it was because the video felt like it didn't represent the actual sound that was coming out of his voice, if that makes sense. And then he's like in the video, he's like it seems like he's screaming it, but it's just like it doesn't feel like it's matching. Now I'm sure he's probably, that's just how he delivers that style of vocal. But there was just a certain section, a couple of sections there. Where was it? If I can find it. I think it's like, I just can't take that seriously, though. Like he's like, if I'm to imagine, if I haven't heard the song, right, let's just go on mute. Like that's someone who's fucking in my brain, but then it's I can't, like, you know. I think that's just maybe that's what I was seeing in my, like, that makes sense why he's like, there's a fry to it there, you know? Whereas here he's like, I don't know, maybe it's just like, maybe I just can't get behind that like vocal delivery. Exactly. Okay, so they obviously probably just took a couple shots and they probably just used some of the same B-roll. I don't fucking know, but that's what I would expect. This part here, I don't know if it's it almost looks like they've used the exact, I don't know if they've used the exact same screenshot from this. Hold on a minute, let's see if we can, are we about to break this down? Let me see that side shot. Let me see that side shot right now, baby. Okay, it's possible. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that's a perfect example. That is the type of scream I'd expect from someone doing this. I'm sorry, I'm getting so hung up on this, but I think there was just too many moments like that where it just felt like it didn't match and it kind of threw me off a little bit, and maybe I was already not liking the vocal style and then seeing the visual aspects not match just kind of made me not like it more. As a song, not bad. I've obviously kind of made a mountain out of a molehill here, which is fun to do, to be honest. You know, I don't know. It's a decent song. It's a decent song. Let's skip to the end. I've already heard it about a million times. Me, come on. I'm getting into my weird bag. Relaxer. Okay. This sounds fucking fun. Industrial. I'm walking into a club. There's a bass pumping from the next room. I got my shades on. I'm like this because I've just done a fucking ridiculous amount of cocaine. And this is me trying to smile. If someone says a joke when you're doing cocaine. Not speaking from experience. I'm gonna hate myself if I have something in my teeth or some shit. Just exposing myself. I'm feeling some electronic kicks coming in. Carson Pace is from the Calisdale Boys. Okay.
Consciously seething, I can't grind my teeth down any duller. Priceless as an eye. All of your friends left, none of your rights. My son, pride, pride. What have I done? What have I done? No, I said it. Look on me. That's what it's been. 'Cause the blows are compared to the bloodline. I said it. Look on me. That's what it's been. 'Cause the blows are compared to the bloodline. I said it. Look on me. That's what it's been. 'Cause the blows are compared to the feeling of the pain.
My fucking face hurts. It's cool. Man, I hate doing these fucking Spotify videos, but it's just good having a visualizer for everything. I never fucking know when the song's over. I swear they have these moments where they sound like Suicide Boys. Where it sounds like when they're like, I was running to the middle of the summer. Like right now. No.
My ablation be displayed and disconnect. I deflect every assessment you can make. I project myself upon the ones awake. Mistake.
Again, I've heard this track. Can't really remember it because I didn't go back to it, but
Contentious disbeliefs with something as discreet as your defeat, your complexion is severing. And separate skin, same to same, straight as a directing stand. Yet possess not from this passenger of mass. Yet formation
Alright, so the verse have been pretty cool. They've been quite experimental with the like soft-spoken trap style electronic build-ups. Is this pre-chorus? Or the chorus itself? Feels like a pre-chorus, but feels like we're about to drop into another verse. Okay. I guess it's the chorus. Again, similar to Better and Villain, great grooves. Guessing this is Craig Owens. Okay. Again, I've heard that track. Not much to add to the conversation on that one. Just same way that I felt before we even started the album. I didn't go back to this track. Better Written Villain is still head and shoulders above everything on the album. One of the better songs this year, to be fair. But the rest of the album hasn't come close, being honest. It has not come close. There's some great moments in there, don't get me wrong. But nothing in here so far that's like really anywhere near warranting the talk of album of the year. The bass tone has been a pretty standout. I kind of don't even notice it until it just hits at certain moments. That could be a grower. Could be a grower. Okay, look, okay. We're on people watching track 10 of 14. I think this is just another one of those cases of maybe my expectations were too high going into this album. I've been hearing album of the year calls for this, and maybe it's just because I have such a split audience between people who are like really into really progressive stuff and then people who are into like run-of-the-mill metalcore. I mean, yeah, there's some moments in here. There is some moments of brilliance, don't get me wrong, but it just all feels very monotonous after a while. It's definitely not, in my opinion, what people are making it out to be. Like, people have this in their top 5 and shit for album of the year, which I get is fair enough if you're not into the more like drawn out, more intricate side of prog music, because this just kind of gets to the point a lot of the time with tracks. Now, there's some emotional moments in there. I do feel like a lot of the emotional moments can be lost when there's like too much screaming. I'd say this album is just on the brink of just kind of overdoing it with the scream verses and stuff. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of variation across the board with the vocals. Like, we've heard fucking the lead vocalist has a lot of different variations in the way he can get his point across, as we've discussed in whatever song that was that I was laughing at. I think it was Product Placement. But I don't know, it's just an expectations thing. Sometimes I go into albums that maybe I was expecting to not be that good, but because I've heard nothing about it, I end up being really impressed by it, because I'm like, wow, this is like really gone under the radar. But unfortunately, a lot of the time when I see such hype for albums and then I go in, and I'm trying not to be a contrarian, like genuinely, if there's an album that people have been talking about, there's been a lot of occasions where I've seen a lot of hype around albums and I jump into it without really knowing much about the band, and then I'm like, oh shit, I completely get what you guys are talking about. It was like with Night Verses, for example. Night Verses were someone that were not on my radar, and I was like, oh my fucking god, I need to check this out, and yeah, I was just blown away by it. But this one is just like, look, I can understand. I just feel like something like this is just not going to be remembered in like a year's time. You know what I mean? I feel like we've seen albums over the past like couple of years, even just ones that I can think of, like Heavener, for example, is still like an album that I bring up that, in terms of metalcore, I think that'll be remembered in, you know, years to come. It felt like a very pivotal moment in metalcore. It was just a fucking great album. And again, it's all subjective. Some people might look at Heavener and be like, nah, bro, that's not it. But again, metalcore is quite broad. There's different styles. That Heavener album's a little bit more atmospheric and I guess more riff orientated, where this one's like groove and angst orientated. That's how I'm seeing it anyway. But it just doesn't really do much for me at all. It's like decent to listen to, but a full album of it, I'm kind of like, I feel like I've just heard everything the band has to offer after about 7 tracks, you know what I mean? And then I'm like, okay, it's just this style of metalcore that I'm just not that sold on. But again, I went in open-minded, not really knowing what the album was going to have in it, but
I could be like you.
I just don't really get it, man.
I could help the applause.
I get why people will be like, oh yeah, this is a fucking good album. I don't know how big this band are in terms of like how many albums and shit they have. Like, let's see what their discography looks like. Like, are they a relatively new band? Because if they are, then that makes sense as to why it's like pretty impressive. But like, yeah, they kind of looks like they started making music 6 years ago. Undercover Scumbag. Again, bass tone's fucking sexy in this as well. It's quite eerie. This is the title track as well, isn't it? This fits the visuals completely, this song. That's freaky as fuck. They've nailed the ambience here and the eerie, creepy vibe. It's actually one of my favorite artworks that I've seen. You know, it kind of says a lot without saying much. It's quite like, it's just one image, but it just makes you think of so many different things, you know. so unsettling to just look at. Like, the longer I look at it, it's just getting freakier, man. Change Agent featuring Trey Roberts. We'll have to look up who this is. Mouth for War, Trey Roberts. Not a band I'm familiar with. I've heard of him, but okay, another little slow burner here, just to take us into the last two tracks on the album. Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit more in detail at the end. I won't like bore you for too long, but I don't think this is gonna be saved in the last two tracks. It's not a bad album by any stretch, but it's just fucking metalcore again, isn't it? Metalcore with the odd bit of twists and turns, but I think unfortunately a lot to do with what this is that I heard the best song on the album, unless these last two tracks are absolutely unbelievable. But Better Written Villain is head and shoulders above anything else in this album, in my opinion, and I happened to hear that first. So that in my mind was like, this band's really sick, I need to check them out. Then I seen the hype when the album came out and I was like, okay, right, let's fucking go. And now here we are. Better Written Villain, still a very fucking sick track. Felt like the most dynamic track. The rest of the tracks just feel a bit similar, I guess. I seen a meme yesterday about metalcore albums, and it's like the first 10 tracks, and it's like just rage, and then the last track is like some fucking soft moment like this. I know this isn't the last track, but same applies. I mean, that track probably had my favorite riff on the album. It didn't deviate too far from like the way in which a lot of the riffs have been structured. Like even just the rhythm guitars throughout the album have been very almost monotonous. They haven't really deviated from the like it's been very tonality wise similar across the board. So this one, the riff on Terms and Conditions wasn't too far off of that, but it felt like they kind of accented it towards the end, which was nice. But I have my notes written down. I'll listen to this song and see if this track is capable of beating Better in Villa as my favorite song. That vocal mix is mental. Similar chorus style to Better Written Villain though. heard enough. Let me cook. Okay. I mean, it's another metalcore album to tick off the list of albums that I will not be returning to say the least. I'm disappointed by that, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. I'm disappointed. I was expecting it to shine out a little bit more than just your standard metalcore album, but honestly, it's just another album that I believe will just be forgotten about for them. Even the people that I think are high on this album right now, I just feel like these albums, I've been around the block for long enough, and I've seen how the sentiment around these styles of albums changes very quickly. It's the best thing in the world when it first drops. Give it 2 weeks, give it a month, give it 2 months, give it 6 months, and people just forget about it. Like, these albums don't really stand the test of time from what I've seen. Like, there's albums, like I mentioned, like Heavener, that still, it's only been a fucking year, but like, that album still stands out as one of those fucking albums that will just live on in the metalcore space. I feel like those albums come around every once in a while. I think we had Lowe's album, I Let It In. We've obviously had, if you want to go like the whole Viljarta and the Thal stuff, like, I mean, Mustad and Vratin, obviously 2021 is an album that's just going to be discussed for a long fucking time. I think North Lane, Alien, Obsidian to a certain extent. I think you have your Thornhill's what the fuck is the Thornhill album called? Holy shit. Wow. I love this album, but I've completely blanked on it. Thornhill's album is called The Dark Pool. Yes. Another album that just stands the test of time for me. Again, these are all albums that I've had a lot of time with them, and I can still completely appreciate how good they are. You know what I mean? I've listened to them a lot. There's obviously a bit of fatigue that like starts to kick in. I just feel like those albums are just so memorable. This doesn't feel that memorable at all to me. Is it like the worst metalcore in the world? No, it's not. It's actually solid fucking metalcore, but unfortunately, I do a lot of streams. I've been doing like a weekly stream for the past fucking like over a year and a half. And I just feel like this album was a combination of a lot of the songs that I get continuously requested on stream, and obviously there's an element of fatigue there. Like, I'm not completely oblivious to the fact that yes, this might hit a lot harder if I listened to this like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I wasn't as overexposed to this style of metalcore. But I just do feel like this kind of has a shelf life in terms of how much you can listen to it. Like, it's good, but I feel like it's a bit of a like gateway into metalcore, or it just feels like a bit of a staple in metalcore, you know? It's just like one of those things. It's another like just metalcore album that I'd put in a pile of metalcore albums that I can appreciate. Yeah, like production wise, it sounds great. Vocally, it's not my favorite from a personal taste, but I don't think the vocals are bad at all. I just feel like maybe it's a case of I heard Better and Villain as my first track. That song ripped, and I still think that's probably even gotten better. Like, hearing that again, I was like, yes, absolutely. I think Better and Villain was a really fucking good track. I think that's the best song on the album by an absolute country mile. That being the first song I heard obviously set my expectations very high, and then obviously, like I mentioned, when these albums drop, I think there's always a surge in my like Discord, in like the YouTube comments, and in Patreon, where people are like, oh, this album just dropped. And of course, it's completely subjective. I wouldn't hold this against anyone for liking this album. Again, I don't give a fuck. I like albums that are weird that people don't like. It is what it is. But just for me, it's like this balance of trying to like not get too sucked into the hype, and also listening to the people when there is hype for an album. And unfortunately, sometimes the people that are hyping the album, maybe there's like a majority of people that are more into this music that make these albums kind of get pushed to the top a little bit more. That can be the case. Metalcore has always been something quite popular on my channel. Obviously, I started getting really deep into like doing full album reactions with a lot of metalcore, so I've obviously built quite a big like viewership from people who love these metalcore style albums. But I think my taste has just drifted away from that over time. And again, maybe it's because of overexposure to it, where I've just become very fatigued by the whole genre. But honestly, just trying to be objective about it, I like a good metalcore album. I do like a good metalcore album, but it just has to have, you know, like the fucking pillar stones, very simplified foundations of what it has to have for me. is like a really undeniable groove, a lot of fun rhythms, which this album probably shunned the most on. If I'm talking about the 3 pillar stones, which I'll get onto the other 2, this album probably shunned the most from like a groove standpoint. But overall tone, like obviously if you start breaking it down into further categories, like you have your groove. Okay, how do the guitars sound? Like how's the tone sound? Is there like, you know, accented moments in the groove? Is it the same rhythm over and over again, but it's still a solid rhythm? Like I feel like this album did have like a lot of head bangable moments that I could just groove along to and nod my head to, but like it did start sounding monotonous after a while. It didn't really break outside of the dun, 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 dun. Like the best rhythm in the entire album, I think, is the opening part to Better Written Villain. I think that song just had, of all of the components, it had the best in everything. The other 2 is being like big melody, so if there's something I can sing along to that has like a big hook in it, I don't really care how the rest of the song sounds as long as there's something I can sing along to, because it's something I want to go back to and sing along to and it'll get stuck in my head. And then there's like just the 3rd pillar, which I guess is probably the least important, to be honest, in terms of song structure. Is more of a personal taste, and it's like, okay, if you can't deliver on like groove or melody for me, is there something that's in there that is like really different and really like genre blending or genre pushing? And for me, I feel like this was like a really basic attempt at like what we've heard a million times over with metalcore, and the implementation of like some, you know, almost trap style moments. I don't know if it was necessarily trap, but there was some of the build-ups to certain sections that reminded me of like Suicide Boys and some of those like trap artists, or like that trap hip hop, trap rap, fucking whatever you want to call it, trap metal. There was some moments like that almost like felt as if they were going that direction, but then just kind of went back into metalcore. There was some electronic moments that were there and were fun for like certain verses, but again, nothing that was like implemented into the like the roots of the metalcore that like made it kind of its own thing. It was just like surface level electronic stuff that was cool, don't get me wrong, it was fun, but nothing we've never heard before, just to build up a verse, and then it was kind of back into like your standard metalcore choruses, metalcore breakdowns. I just, so there's the 3 pillar stones. I feel like there was nothing that creative in it. It did everything really, really well, don't get me wrong. And this is the thing, I think people think that like I'm shitting on albums. Like I don't think this is a bad album at all. I'd probably listen to all the songs in the gym. Like if this came on in my playlist, I wouldn't be like, that's terrible, turn it off. However, I would not go and actively search out this album at all. There's just so many better metalcore albums. I think the emotional aspect was lost on me a little bit as well. I feel like sometimes the screams, I don't think I connected too much with the vocalist. He was very similar to Garrett Russell from Silent Planet with that like Shaggy Doo vocal style, like a, but I just feel like Garrett Russell, like, even though he sounds quite similar to Garrett Russell, I feel like Garrett Russell's lyricism alone is enough to make whatever his delivery sounds like so much more enjoyable to listen to. And I think just Silent Planet instrumentally are just so much better. Like they're so much more creative. It's not a competition between Silent Planet and Better Written Villain or 156 Silence. But if we're just comparing like and like, you know what I mean? Like the vocals were quite similar in parts to what I, you know, sometimes do and don't like about Silent Planet. So I can listen to it, but I just, the rest of it was a bit meh to me. The screams in parts got a bit much. It felt quite monotonous and just overplayed and repetitive, and felt like it kind of just lost all meaning after a while. What else have I got written here? A lot of the rhythms felt very similar tonality wise, and just the overall vibe, a bit monotone after a while. Not a very riff orientated album, to be honest. There was a lot of groove, don't get me wrong, but there was very little like riffs in the album that made me like go, oh shit, that's a fucking sick riff. Terms and Conditions is probably like my favorite standout moment in terms of the guitar side of things. The choruses, again, like I said, the melody just wasn't really that memorable to me. I think Better Written Villain is just the best chorus and the only playlist track on the entire album for me. It just feels like there's this weird like lack of emotion in it. It feels like forced emotion, like it's angsty, but the screams kind of feel redundant after a while. It just feels like they're kind of screams for the sake of screaming. And again, it's partly due to the fact that maybe I just heard the best song on the album as the first track. Then I seen the hype, my expectations were raised, went in, and I guess I'm kind of let down by the album. But at the end of the day, it's a relatively new band in the grand scheme of things. This is their, I think, 3rd or 4th album. Not bad. Not going to give it a rating, but my rating is basically I will only listen to the Better Written Villain track again. That I know of right now, of course. There may be exceptions where it comes on again and I'm like, oh fuck, that's actually growing on me. I'm happy to eat my words, but right now, first listen, album is a miss for me. And yeah, that's all from me, lads. If you like the video, leave a like in the video. I don't know if this will end up on YouTube. I'll probably like treat each video as if it's going to be a YouTube video, and then depending on how much I actually enjoy the album or how like much I added to the conversation because I just didn't really love the album, I'll decide if I want to put it on YouTube. So if it's on YouTube, cheers for watching. Consider supporting on Patreon so you get these videos early. If it's not, Patreon, you're all absolute freaks. And that's it. Appreciate all the support, lads. See you in the next one. Cheers.